Welcome to Haken, an Animal Crossing podcast, your podcast dedicated to all things Animal Crossing. This episode is brought to you by E.B. Rose, one of our newest Patreon patrons. Today, Sergio and I will be answering some mail from our listeners and discussing the recent developer interview with the Animal Crossing team. So to begin, hello Sergio, how you doing?
Hi Chewy, I'm doing rather well. It's been a busy weekend, but, you know, we do what we can. It's been good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, yeah. It's been busy for sure. Jackie's birthday was just yesterday, so we've pretty much spent the whole week celebrating and everything.
Oh, nice.
And we watched way too much Stranger Things, judging by the fact that we're done. And it just came out like 2 days ago, so
right.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it was fun. We had a good time, and now we're actually thinking of starting it from the beginning again, just to remember how it all went down, you know?
Oh, nice. Would you get the game?
No, I didn't get the game, and I guess I wasn't really thinking about getting the game. So, I guess not. Though I am kind of in the horror mood because I'm going to start doing a Let's Play of Luigi's Mansion, the original, you know?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I guess that's the priority right now because Luigi's Mansion 3 is coming out in 2019. We don't know when exactly, but it's this year, so I figured right now, while I'm still waiting for Fire Emblem at the end of this month, I think it's a good time, you know?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I also, I want to play a lot of games right now, and so I'm running into that kind of problem where I've got to narrow it down to what I'm playing, and what I'm narrowing it down to right now is just like Mario Maker 2 Story Mode and Luigi's Mansion. But I did turn on my time at Porsche today for a little bit. So too many things, too many games.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess this week we wanted to do a little bit of Haken listener mail, and I always forget to kind of announce when we're going to do this, mostly because, I don't know, I decide very last minute that we're going to do this. So regardless, so if you are listening to this episode, go ahead, leave a comment somewhere, tweet at us, wherever you can find us, just send us your listener mail, and we can read it out here and answer some questions and do anything, but we got a lot of really interesting questions recently, so I thought it was a good time to go over these things. So I guess let's just jump into it. So Team Chaos Bear, probably playing on Team Chaos in the last Splatfest, which I'm also excited about that too. Are you going to be picking up Splatoon at the end, just to play this final Splatfest?
Oh, yes, for sure. I'm gonna go with Team Chaos as well, because everyone is going there, so I want people to play with.
Yeah, that's true. I just like Chaos. Though, I don't know. I know it's going to determine the story, essentially, for Splatoon 3. So, I don't know, Team Chaos and Team Order, I feel like both of them have the ability to make, like, an interesting story, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I guess I don't really have a strong attachment with who wins, but I think Chaos is fun, so that's what I'm going with. Cool. So anyways, Team Chaos Bear 312 asked, do you think they are going to add or get rid of any special characters? And this is obviously for Animal Crossing, since this came in from our Discord. And, we always talk about special characters in Animal Crossing. So what do you think, Sergio? Are they going to add or get rid of some?
Yes, I think it's very safe to say that they're going to at least add one special character. They usually do. It would be nice to see more than one, but I think one, it's the safe assumption. As for getting rid of some of them, I definitely don't want them to, but I think it's possible to, especially because the game is so different. You're going to be in an island. It's a very different approach from just going to an existing village, the approach that we're used to. So I can kind of see a special character, or maybe more, just having their roles change so much or just completely removed. For instance, I'm thinking maybe Digby might not be around, or he might be doing something different. I don't know if the Happy Home Academy is going to be around, or at least the showcase.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think the hard thing about this question is the fact that we've only really seen Tom, Timmy, and Tommy, the Nook crew, essentially, and there hasn't really been another special character. All we really know is that Rossetti is getting a new job because he doesn't have to yell at anybody for resetting anymore. And on top of that, Isabel can be in the game, depending on how you play, you know?
Yes.
So we know about like special characters here and there, but I get the feeling that they're really going to, like, as soon as we see these special characters, they're going to be very different from what we're used to. Actually, now that I think about it, they also said KK Slider is going to play every Saturday.
Oh, yes, that's right.
So KK Slider, maybe not so different than he was, but regardless, I just feel like every single character is going to be kind of, I'm hoping, revamped, you know? Because with this crafting mechanic, I want there to be like a good mix of things that we can only craft and things that we can only buy. Because I feel like that makes both of those interesting and rewarding to do. So with that in mind, I just feel like a new character would be possible just in case they found out something new to do. My suspicions would be like maybe they're at the airport or something. They did avoid that airport during the treehouse, so I kind of that's where I would guess the new character would be. But I almost feel like we won't need one based on like how many special characters we already have, and they're probably, at least the bulk of them, are probably going to have a new job. I think there's ones that we can rest assured they'll probably keep doing the same thing. Like Abel's sisters, I feel, will always be making clothing.
Yes.
Leaf, he runs the gardening shop, you know? And so other characters, though, like Phineas, for example, who we only really see when they give us badges, when we accomplish something in the game. That is a character where you're like, what are they going to do, you know? Because we already have this new reward system with the Nook points. So is that going to replace the badges? Is that going to be... well, I guess the Nook miles. Nook points are actually the other things that you get, I think, in City Folk, right? With the rewards at Nook.
Yes.
Yeah. And maybe Wild World, too, since they kind of shared those things.
Yes.
But Nook miles. So we kind of have a reward system that's already going to be in place. And I don't know how, I guess, Phineas is going to play into that, you know? So if I had to guess, maybe Phineas is gone, which would be sad because that, I don't know, he had a fun kind of line of progression where he would give us the balloons and the twirlers and stuff at the city, you know?
Right.
And then in the new game, like, that was our, I guess, just our bonus points for, like, just playing the game.
Right. And, you know, I was also thinking of the special characters that travel every week. I was thinking of Joan and of Katie. You know, like, especially Katie, she says, oh, you know, I got off at the wrong station. But now, you know, how is she going to justify, oh, I took the wrong plane?
Yeah, well, you know, that's happened before in Home Alone. Specifically Home Alone 2, they got on the wrong plane and went to New York instead of Florida.
Right.
The first one, he just got left at home because all the alarms didn't go off.
Right.
But you know, I mean, maybe Katie can still show up like that. And I guess this also makes me wonder, like, we haven't seen too much of how the water is going to play a role in this game. For example, we're very used to Cap'n rowing a boat and taking us somewhere, you know? But we already know that part of the travel is going to be plane related.
Yes.
And then we don't really know if we can swim again. I'm hoping we still can because, come on.
Yes.
Who goes to an island and doesn't go swimming?
Right.
Like, that's one of the big things to do at an island, right? Like, there's a lot more water than there is land on an island. But yeah, I guess, I don't know, maybe she just, like, rows a boat to your place this time around.
Right. And you know what? I I cannot believe I never thought about this because okay, so now we're in an island. Are we going to another island for multiplayer? How's that gonna work?
Yeah, I mean, we really don't know, especially with like 8 people on an island.
Hmm.
There's got to be, I guess, just some really big. Oh, okay. Now I'm thinking about things. But like 8 people really sets us up for like a 4v4 type of game
Oh,
thing. Like it'd be really cool if what they did with like all of the island games from New Leaf, now you're playing on a team of 4 versus another team of 4
yes.
to really get like a full experience with this. So man, I'm already thinking of how cool it's going to be doing like scavenger hunts and stuff and doing all the strategies to win and be faster than the other team.
Oh.
I need this game right now so we can all play these things. um but yeah, I guess there's a whole lot to the game that we still don't know, and all I really know right now is that Aya Kyogoku is awesome at what she does, and she really does love Animal Crossing, so I don't expect it to, I guess, change the game in a way that we're not gonna like it, you know?
Yes, yes. And you reminded me of one thing that I wanted to highlight going back to the special characters. They mentioned that Isabel might be around depending on the way you play. That was the quote. And they might go all out with that approach. Depending on how you play, the special characters might rotate. You might have different ones every season, depending on how you decide to approach the game. So, with that in mind, they could add a few, maybe take out a few, but you're gonna have different ones, maybe every month or every season. It's a possibility. I, I, I would like to see that. It would be an interesting approach.
Yeah, I really am interested in the Plaza area because we've gotten a huge kind of area that when we saw it during the E3 presentation, during the treehouse, um, there was essentially two things there. There was Nook's shop, and then there was also the bulletin board, you know? But there
Hmm.
was plenty of room for other things, so I'm really hoping they utilize that where maybe the Able sisters come and visit for a little bit and have some clothing to share at this like pop-up shop for for one day.
Yes.
And so I'm really interested in them using that so we can see some variety throughout the week, you know?
Hmm.
And just giving us a little taste of what they have to offer and then eventually building up to that point where, oh, we want you
Oh,
to open up a shop here.
yes. Hmm.
You know, so I want everything to be like very bare bones at the beginning where you don't get the full experience, but you get just enough where you're just like, I need to unlock this. I don't know how. Um, but yeah, like you said, depending on how you play, like it's going to attract different villagers, different special characters, different, probably maybe even different events that happen. Um,
Hmm.
so I don't know. I feel excited because that's a huge deal to me where I've said it time and time again. I just want to start in a place that's completely empty and have it build up over time cuz that's the fun to me in Animal Crossing where you play for a little while every day and then all of a sudden you're a month later and you're just like, "Man, look at how awesome I am."
Yes.
So, and I feel like that's gonna be our feeling with this game, with just that small little phrase of like, depending on how you play,
Right.
you
Yeah.
can get Isabel, and I'm just like, how am I gonna play this? Yeah. So, did you have anything else to say about the special characters?
Well, one thing to consider is that even Pocket Camp added the OK Motors crew, so I definitely think we're gonna see at least one new special character.
That's a really good point. We do tend to get some special characters that are added. And, sometimes ones disappear. I listed
Hmm.
really quickly that, like, Farley from Population Growing, who was, like, kind of a gnome character, and then Serena and Frillard in City Folk, they haven't made a return. Um, So
Right.
yeah, like some disappear, but yeah, even Happy Home Designer added a new character, which was Lottie.
Yes.
Um, Pocket Camp added, the OK Motors crew. City Folk added nobody and almost nothing to the franchise
Right.
except for disappointment. That's what they added. It's something we've never experienced with Animal Crossing. um, all right. Well, okay, we've got another question here, and this one's from Nez. And they said, do you think they'll add content such as new bugs and fish, stores, or events through DLC?
Well, I do think they're gonna add all of those events, items, in new bugs and fish. But I think that's gonna be part of the main game, the base game. So if there's any DLC like that, I think it's gonna be unique items or maybe different themes or different colors to existing items. And I think you're not gonna be able to share those because you're probably gonna be paying for them or getting them through some sort of DLC, unless which I expect them to also do free DLC items, like they did for New Leaf. But I think if they added something like a specialist store or something that you had to buy, that would be a little too much for me. I think as for being DLC, I think I could see some valid complaints if they take that approach. So I don't think they would go that far.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat as you, where we already saw a new butterfly at the very opening shot of the
Oh yeah.
trailer. So I expect there to be new bugs, new fish, maybe even new fossils this time around
Oh, that would
too.
be nice.
The one thing I really want there to be new things of is the deep sea diving creatures. And like I
Yes.
said, we haven't seen swimming yet, but I'm expecting it to make a comeback. So we got a very like bare bones kind of setup for the deep sea diving creatures in, I guess, New Leaf. Of course, they were just like barely introduced, so they had to think up of a lot of things that you can get from underwater,
Right.
But I expect that to expand quite a bit. And as far as it being added as DLC, I guess I just don't see it happening that way unless it's like kind of way later in the game's lifespan.
Oh, okay.
Um, I'm thinking like more like 3 years in, Welcome Amiibo style update just to like freshen up the game a little bit because, we're getting this game next year, which is 2020, and it's very realistic to maybe expect the new game in like 5 to 10 years. So
Yes.
2025 to 2030, that could be the next time we see a new Animal Crossing game. So I think later in the game's life, I would 100% accept like a big DLC package. I wouldn't mind paying for it because I would have paid for the Welcome Amiibo update. But, Nintendo is, luckily enough, like very generous with these types of things. So
Hmm.
it could also be just a free update later on.
That's true.
But I would expect that like, if they're going to add those types of things to the game, bugs and fish and that sort of stuff. I mean, now that I think of it, because, like, essentially we're probably going to have a set size to a museum, whether or not, like, we don't know if we're getting a museum just
Right.
yet, but hopefully we do because that's a huge part of the game for me.
Yes.
But like when we do, they've always kind of been a set size. Like we've never really, actually New Leaf, we expanded the museum where we could have our own 4 exhibits upstairs.
Oh, yes.
But if like we had, I guess, a DLC where we could expand again or expand the museum and to, I guess, take into account the new bugs and fish they added, that could be a thing. So I don't know. Regardless, I just think it's going to be something that happens way later in the game's life.
Yes, that would be very nice. Like you said, we're gonna be playing this game a while, but the next one is also gonna take a while if we follow the pattern with New Horizons. So for sure, it would be very nice to get a big update like Welcome Amiibo was, and then maybe they can do both things. They can have a big free update and a bunch of DLC that we pay for to extend it even further. That would be great.
Yeah, and I feel like Nintendo is really taking this approach with the games too, where New Leaf was had some major changes to the Animal Crossing gameplay, and
Mhm.
New Horizons is also adding some big changes to the gameplay. Crafting is a huge new thing that we
Yes.
got a little taste of in Pocket Camp, but I think this crafting system is going to be much deeper than what we're used to. Regardless, I think they're doing that since City Folk was, essentially like the least favorite of for a lot of people.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just because like it wasn't a huge difference from, I guess, Wild World prior.
Yes. Hmm.
So I think with them taking that approach, we're gonna be seeing some pretty big gaps between each game. And yeah, so I don't know. I guess I just feel like we're going to have to wait a while, and there's probably going to be some stuff in the meantime to keep us slightly satisfied.
Yes. Hmm.
Um, and on top of that, like they have mentioned Pocket Camp events that are going to be shared. Well, sort of. I
Oh
guess
yeah.
they're not very clear with this, but there are going to be like shared item events, which could be some timed events for Animal Crossing New Horizons, which would be pretty interesting.
Yes. Hmm.
Um, so maybe we're going to see some real like timed events where you can only get certain items during a certain time. And that could be, I guess that in some form is a DLC type of thing. But I expect those also to be free.
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah. Because I don't know. I don't want to see the microtransaction stuff happen. And I don't know. I guess I still kind of doubt that it will.
Hmm.
Just with it seems like Nintendo's trying to keep their mobile strategies very separate from their home console strategies.
Yes. Agreed. Hmm.
Yeah. Um so yeah, did you have anything else to say before we move on to this next question?
No. No. I think that's it. Hmm.
Awesome. Then the next question is from Samzy, and Samzy asked, "Will Animal Crossing New Horizons be competing with the top spot for the best Animal Crossing game?"
Oh, I like this question. Well, I would say that from what we have seen, it's very likely that it will. If I had to, say, well, why maybe it won't, why it might have a difficult time being the best, it's because we don't know a lot of features from New Leaf if they're gonna be coming back or not. Like you said, we don't know if even swimming is back. We don't know if the museum is back. I guess if a lot of these features don't come back or they're not at least present in some way, shape, or form, yeah, if they start adding up, that could be a concern and that could be like a step backward in a way. Like we don't even know. I mean, most likely we're not going to be the mayor of the island, but hopefully there are public works projects still or big exterior decorations that we can implement and that the villagers can interact with. So it depends, like I said, on how many of those features end up making the cut. I expect most of them to come back, even ordinances in either the way they were before or with a slight change, nothing too drastic. And if everything makes it back, I think this could definitely be the best one for sure.
Yeah, and we also got to take into account like there have been 3 spin-off titles now. Well, 2 and 1 sort of.
Yes.
um, and it seems like they are a lot of the Animal Crossing team has obviously had experience with those spin-off titles. Happy Home Designer did a lot to really grow what we could do as far as like decorating goes, and Pocket Camp introduced some things that I think are still pretty cool, and I think I would welcome them in the new game.
Yes. Mhm.
So we also got to take into account like these titles, they got to play with some new things that I guess weren't really possible before. And so now we're going to get a game that it just comes with a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more insight into the types of things they can do, and definitely some more ideas that they can implement into the game.
Mm.
So I don't know. For me, this game is just really looking like it's probably going to be my favorite Animal Crossing at that point. Um,
Right.
and it's strange to think that I don't know what I was going to say. I don't know. I'm kind of trying to think about this, but overall, I just feel like we're going to get this really new mechanic, which is the crafting, which I know a lot of people are against or were against, and maybe they've turned to like it now. Maybe they decided they don't like it after all. But regardless, it's going to
Mm.
be a very new game compared to what we've played in the past. And I've mentioned this before, but like it's a very active type of way of collecting,
Yes.
where you have some control over your town and the resources that are available to you. Because I can already suspect that, like, if we can only get 3 pieces of wood from a tree a day, I'm going to be planting trees. I'm going to be planting tons of trees to collect more wood,
Yes.
Like, it's already creating kind of a need for things that didn't really have a need in previous games.
Mm.
Because I like trees, so whenever I go to a town and notice that there aren't too many of them, I'm just like, I wish there were more trees. But
Yes.
now it's like people will need to keep like a source of trees. Maybe they'll go and make a forest or something, but when they go to that forest, like that'll give them some supplies, some natural resources. So already we're seeing things in the world that are going to provide more to your life in Animal Crossing than they ever did.
Yeah.
Because, people made orchards and stuff because the fruit trees, like perfect fruit, really changed up that whole thing where people can collect tons and tons of perfect fruit, go to their friends' towns and sell them for bank,
Yes.
Like that was a great way to make money every 3 days whenever they grew back,
Yes. Hmm.
But now you you have a reason to have the regular trees and other trees around your town, and I think that's exciting. I think it's exciting that there is just more value around the natural resources of your world. So that might lead people to have things that they didn't expect they would have in their town before.
Yes. Yes, for sure. And another thing is that this game, I think it's safe to say this is the most anticipated Animal Crossing game, at least, in our lifetimes. So if it delivers, and most likely it will, it's gonna be very special. It's very, very likely that it's gonna end up our favorite until the next one.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I feel like this one is a real contender to be that top game, just because, like, and you're totally spot on with the anticipation, because after City Folk, I remember people, when we were waiting for New Leaf to come out, people were just saying things like, "Oh, every Animal Crossing is kind of the same thing." And they're not really doing much different. But then New Leaf came out, and yeah, it's got a lot of the same things, but it's also got so much more that you can do with the public works projects alone,
Yes. Hmm.
And so I think that kind of put the bug in a lot of us for like, oh man, what if we could put more things outside? What if we had less limitations with that?
Hmm.
So yeah, I think it's going to be a different game from the previous Animal Crossings, but I think there's going to be a lot of it that will feel familiar after a while, which is good. Because Animal Crossing, I feel like it always feels like home. It feels comfortable. It feels like you're going back to a really nice place.
Oh yes,
so,
yes, for sure.
so it's cool to get that experience where you're moving into a place that's completely new, but eventually you're going to turn it into that place where you're like, oh man, I'm going home.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm excited about it. And I think it's going to be different of a game, but in a great way where people are just like, man, this is the best.
Yeah, yeah, and we kind of joked about it, but this is our our 2019 game of the year, even though it comes out next year. We're just so ready for it. So yes, you can bet it's gonna be one of our favorites, if not the favorite, easily.
Yeah, definitely. It is the winner for sure. All right, so we have one last question, and it's from Nez again, and they said, what would you guys think about them adding more mythical animal villagers to the game, like dragons?"
Hmm. I really like this question also. And if they added those type of creatures, I wouldn't mind. But if I had to choose, I would prefer if they don't, because I think more people would feel like having those type of mythical creatures would sort of take away a little bit of the magic from Animal Crossing, like the realistic fact that they go with existing animals and they change the color or the breed or the type of species, but it's always the usual cat, dog, cow, etc. So if they went with something that's a little more magical or mythical, it's possible, but I think there's other animals, real animals and other species that they could tap into before they go that route. So I would prefer them to stick with the traditional.
And I guess I'm torn with this. Maybe I fall on the other side of it where I feel like there's some types of I guess themes that people had in New Leaf, like the fairy tale theme, for example,
Yes.
where I think those characters really fit in with those, like if somebody made like a fairy tale theme and had Julian and Drago there,
Yes.
the unicorn and dragon, I think it fits. So I go kind of like, I like the mythical creatures that we have already. Like we have one unicorn, one dragon, but
Mhm.
like we could see more variety for that. I think there could just be a bunch of different designs for unicorns, a bunch of different designs for dragons, and kind of make them their own species,
Mm.
where they're just different options for them. Because we have what, 20 million cats and 20 million dogs.
Yeah, right.
So like there are some species that get a lot of love and get a lot of different I guess designs as far as characters go. So I wouldn't mind seeing them expand on what already exists.
Oh, nice. And especially with the fact that we're gonna be able to decorate outside a lot more freely this time. Yeah, for sure, it's gonna be a lot easier to make a theme.
Yeah, definitely. And we have already so many different items that would fit those types of things. So I'm for it, especially because like I don't. I really like a lot of the public works in New Leaf, but some of them, like the modern theme and everything, like it was very hard for people to um, make it feel right. For example, like if you went with the modern theme, which is kind of like a little bit more iron and metal versus like the wood and green kind of look that Animal Crossing is well established with.
Yes.
I know a lot of people didn't really want the game to be in the city, for example, and I was one of those. I didn't really want it to be a city setting, but I am 100% for people being able to do that if they choose to.
Yes.
So if you want to make a city and make like a modern theme, I say go for it. And if you want to do like a fairy tale theme, you can do that and get mythical creatures to your liking.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. So I guess those were all of our questions. Thank you everybody for sending them in. And once again, leave a comment if you have, if you're listening on YouTube or, tweet at us. I think I'm at Chewy Plays Nintendo, so you can find me there. And Sergio, what's your Twitter handle?
It is at SergioALB64.
Yeah. Yeah. And Nintendo for mine isn't spelled out all the way. It's NTDO, like the Nintendo shirt in Animal Crossing.
Yes.
Always got to have an Animal Crossing call out in all of what I do. Except also the Nintendo didn't fit when I tried it.
Oh, yeah.
It's too many characters, but still more than 8 characters,
Yes.
Nintendo, in case you didn't know. All right, so let's go ahead and move into the New Horizons developer interview. And this was a pretty interesting interview because it was only really released on the Nintendo Switch. So it has popped around now at different places because other sites have now put it out. They've transcribed it, well, essentially like copied it and put it out on the internet. But now more people can read it. And Sergio, you actually had a lot of fun reading through this one. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, for sure. And basically, it doesn't have anything absolutely brand new information, but some of the wording is very unique and it points us towards some of the features in the game, and I would say it can put us at ease a little bit more than some of the already existing interviews did. One of my favorite parts of the interview is that when they're describing the approach, to a deserted island, they definitely highlight again that they wanted the players to move to a brand new location that they hadn't already been to. It's the opposite of what the other games did. Before, you would move to a town that was already there. There were already at least three villagers there and special characters. On this one, it's brand new. It's a brand new deserted island, and you might move with other just two villagers. And Tom Nook has the only special character, maybe Timmy and Tommy as well. But one fact that they said is that as you progress to your island, there's gonna be more residents, of course, and they're saying that eventually it's going to start to feel like the traditional Animal Crossing life. Or they're basically saying that you're going to end up with a village. And the wording is very interesting because you go from an island and eventually you can sort of build it to a village, which is the one we're used to in the previous Animal Crossing games. So in a way, it kind of tells us that even though there were some concerns about the size of the map or how many villagers we could have or how many shops or stores there could be, well, the developers themselves are kind of telling us eventually you're gonna have your village the way you remember from previous Animal Crossing games. So I think that's very reassuring that the game is going to start very differently and it's going to be very nice and unique and fresh and new, but it's going to end up building to a traditional Animal Crossing village if we wanted to. I know a lot of us want that, so that's very cool to hear.
Yeah, and I guess the one thing that I found, this is probably the most interesting thing for me. And it's funny because it's like right at the beginning, but their specific words say, as you progress, new residents may appear and new facilities will be built.
Right.
So this kind of confirms that, like, there are going to be different people showing up, different special characters showing up, and at some point, they're going to build, like, something substantial in your place, you know?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So this is exciting for me because I remember when we spoke with the person who runs the Beltree forums on the show, you know?
Yes.
And they mentioned that they really, I guess one of the letdowns for them in New Leaf was that all of the shops and the museum and things were all in the main street location. Their main complaint about that was that it really took away some of the variety that towns had when you visited them. For example, in I guess City Folk Wild World and Population Growing, like you had a random location where your museum was, for example, or like Tom Nook's shop was in a different spot, or the Able sisters were in a different spot. So I think that that was not really a thing in New Leaf. I mean, you could build different facilities like the police station and the coffee shop, and that was really the only variety we had. But now it seems like we're going to be able to do that with literally every single shop that opens up in our town, you know?
Yes, that would be ideal.
Which, you know, I'm sure some people still really like the main street type of vibe and will still go for that. But me, I'm just like, man, I could just place shops wherever I want. And I'm wondering, like, if you can place them on the beach too. Because it would be pretty awesome to have like a beachside type of shop for something.
Oh, yes.
So, because there's just like a lot of possibilities with how we can design our towns now. And when we visit another place, like it's going to give us way more of a variety to look at when we actually see. Like I go through dream towns all the time and I'm already amazed with like how different everybody has their layout. But like this is going to be just unprecedented with all that we can do, you know?
Yes, yes. Whenever you visited someone in New Leaf, you would see, okay, here's the plaza and here's retail, and then I know where the rest is because it's all the way to the top of the map. But now on this one, it could be anywhere. We're gonna be looking at the maps a lot more, I think.
Yeah, which, oh man, it's going to be a struggle picking out a map. Picking out your own island. Because I'm already expecting right now, like, this is Nook selling you on the deserted island getaway package. Like, he's going to give you options for an island, you know?
Yes.
I know people are already worried about there being, like, one map, but there, like, the random generated maps is a staple of Animal Crossing. I do not see that going away anytime soon, you know?
Right, right. Hmm.
Yeah, so it's exciting. It's exciting to think like we're going to be much more involved in the process of growing this town and turning it into something than we ever have been.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And one of the when in this interview they asked the developers, can you describe some of the new features? And right away they said that you're going to be building a lot of items from scratch. And they once again highlighted that you're going to a deserted island and it's like starting with a blank canvas. And just to reiterate that it's not just us, there's other villagers there that are going to start with a tent also, and you're going to be able to see them pay their loan to Tom Nook and eventually maybe get a house and decide where to relocate when you're in the run it by you, so that you agree with their location. Everything is sounding really good and really from scratch is the perfect word in DIY building and crafting everything on your own as you're starting off. It's really nice, a very fresh approach to Animal Crossing.
Yeah, definitely. It's just like I said, like the crafting is a completely new thing and I'm expecting us to be making a ton of new things. Like entire series of furniture will have to be unlocked to be crafted, which we've already had so many series of furniture, you know? And it could always be like maybe every single crafting series is like a brand new series versus like maybe the returning series are ones that we find in shops, you know?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it could be really different for sure.
Yes, yes, for sure. I also like the fact that Mr. Nogami really highlighted that he knows people play this game a little bit each day, but it adds up quickly. And it adds, people end up playing this game a really long time. I mean, we know for sure. And it's part of the magic of the series. And it seems like the developers are very, very well aware of it, that it becomes an emotional experience. It's a game, but it's more than that. It's a lot more than that to us. We're always thinking about it. We're always planning what we're going to be doing the next day, later on that day, what we could have done differently. It's just magical the way we approach Animal Crossing.
I love that he gets it, you know? Like we become very attached to the space that we create and everything, but I hate that he doesn't get it because he won't give us like a way to back up with cloud saves.
Oh, yes.
So Nogami, come on, you're killing me. I just I want to be able to protect my little place and my villagers and,
Yes.
because we get invested. Like, we're attached to this place and you spend so long building it up. It's just a shame that it could disappear. And what you have to do is just start all over again.
Oh, yeah, sure. That's easy.
Yeah. I wanted to point out specifically the multiplayer, because I know some people had some questions about this, but they did clear this up a little bit. So
Mhm.
they said you're able to visit other islands to have your friends visit you locally or online. Up to 8 players can play on one island. So they are saying that regardless of if you're playing online or locally, you can have 8 players in your town. And then they regard the, I guess, local multiplayer. Well, they kind of made this confusing, but they said there's 2 main multiplayer modes, right? And the first one
Yes.
I described is one of them. The second mode they described is the new, like, same screen multiplayer.
Yes,
Like, you're
that's it.
playing on the
Hmm.
same system. So that I guess that's a cool thing, I think, that we can get our own Switches and still play multiplayer and do that whole thing, but we can also play on the same town and be on the same system for multiplayer. And they said up to 4 people can play that way,
Yes.
which, man, that's going to be a busy screen. So there's going to be a lot going on if ever. a family gets together and plays like just 4 player Animal Crossing, you know?
Yes, yes, but it's very nice to have a different approach to multiplayer. I know they kind of really hinted at that this is gonna be a very nice approach for when you're trying to find a specific bug or fish or a certain amount of them, maybe for like a tournament or let's see how many bug or fish you can catch within a certain time. It's gonna be very nice for either cooperative or competitive events like that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really excited about that because that just adds to the competition to the game, you know.
Yes.
Which, you know, a lot of people, nobody plays Animal Crossing to be competitive, but at the same time, we all play Animal Crossing to be competitive because we're building up our own experience and it's very personal and we want it to be the best.
Right.
Yeah.
So, one other item that I like from this interview, they actually discuss their favorite methods of making money quickly, or making bells. And Nogami actually highlighted the orchard, the very fan favorite approach of just getting a bunch of trees together. He even said, I like placing them in just the right way so that you get the fruit as quickly as possible. And then in 3 days, the bigger your orchard, the more rewards you get. And that's like a classic Animal Crossing thing now. Everyone it starts out with an orchard somewhere in their village or their island. I think that's gonna come back. It's gonna be the big thing again. And also the turnips, for sure. The turnips are a great way.
You know, I've got to say, like, I'm surprised I never really thought about aligning my trees in an efficient way. Because he definitely talks about like aligning them so he can collect things the fastest, and I'm like, man,
Yes.
I've been wasting my time this entire time. Like I could have done this a lot better.
Yes.
um, so now I feel like experimenting a bit with that. And I do really like that Ayekyo Goku pointed out that she always depended on turnip prices. So
Yes.
I think we can rest assured that Joan is coming to town, probably still on Sundays and just in the morning. So we'll be able to buy turnips again. And that is going to be huge in our place. I can tell already
Oh
because
yes,
we're all
yes.
going to be buying as many turnips as possible and just to make bank. And so everybody every day is going to be sharing their prices, you know?
Oh yes, that's gonna be so awesome.
Yeah, I'm so excited about that.
And one last thing that I really liked is that when they asked who is your favorite character, they both basically said Tom Nook. And it just goes to show, that he's not evil. He's been working very hard on this game. He's just misunderstood. He has some misfortunes in the past. I guess because he deals with money and bells and your loan, there's that mentality that's why he's evil. But yeah, we know that's not the case.
Yeah, and I love that Nogami specifically talked about like Tom Nook's early life and his background, you know?
Right.
He said that Tom Nook wasn't very successful in the past.
Yeah.
And that's something like it's funny because I went through and I looked back through Tom Nook when we did the Where Are They Now series, which we're definitely going to bring back. I've got to do an updated episode for Tom Nook, especially now that we actually know what he's doing in the next game, you
Yes.
know?
Right. Right.
So I do want to revisit that series. I kind of like stopped it short because I was like, we're going to get an Animal Crossing game soon. And all of these characters are probably going to be updated in some way. And lo and behold, like we're probably going to see some major updates with a lot of these characters.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be worth waiting to bring that series back. But I will say that like in my Tom Nook video, I did point out that like he was not a good businessman. In population growing, like I dug into it and I just saw that like he is desperate to make some money and
Yes.
find a deal that's gonna be lucrative for him, you know? And it
Yes.
just took a human moving into this animal village to make it better.
Right.
Yeah, so I love Tom Nook. I think he's a good character. And you know, even beyond the fact that he's very nice with his loans and everything. Like, he's also like a major part of the progression in the game.
Mm.
Like, without Tom Nook, it's just like, what are you really working toward? You know, he was always the main thing where you just pay off your loan, you get a bigger house, and you just do that over and over again until it's all done. And then you essentially beat the game. But
Right.
really, beating the game is watching KK Slider, because that shows you the credits.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, that's the official ending. But yeah, Tom Nook, he's a good guy. Don't stop hating on him. He's giving us an entire island. So it's gonna be great.
Yeah, for sure. So yes, not a lot of brand new information on this interview, but for sure it's very nice and appreciated to get more information for a change. It's been a little bit quiet since E3 and in the news that we had, so it's very nice to get more info again, and just to see that the developers themselves really love the series. They love the characters. They love the fact that there's different approaches that players can take. The fact that people play a little bit every day, but it adds up. They understand all of that, and it's very nice to see them. Mhm.
Yeah, I think the series is in great hands, and it's
Oh
always
yes.
been. So I wouldn't be worried. I think it's going to be the best game yet.
Yes. Mhm.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our Haken's Villager Corner, or as we like to call it now, our Haken's Islander Corner.
Yes.
And this is the part of the show where every week we ask our patrons on Patreon a question and then read some of their answers. So this week's question was, how do you feel about the island setting in New Horizons? And this is a very big question because
Yes.
I've been wondering how people are feeling about it. How are you feeling about it, Sergio?
So I liked it from the beginning because it's very different, but at the same time, I was a little bit concerned that it might not reach the full potential of like a traditional Animal Crossing village, if you will. But looking at things and looking at the news that we had before, and especially this new interview, I think it's safe to say that the island part of it is going to be a nice, different approach to the beginning of the experience. But if you want it to be more like a village, eventually you can build up to that. So I appreciate the island. I think it's going to be very cool and very fresh and new.
Yeah, and I mentioned this last week. For me, I was so scared at the beginning of that trailer. I was just like, please, 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 please do not be tropical the entire time. But as soon as we saw the autumn and the winter scenes, I was just like, all right.
Yes.
So we were getting the best game ever, is what you're telling me. So yeah, that fixed it all for me. After that, I was just like, okay, as long as my island can have seasons and pine trees, then I'm happy.
Yes, good point.
Awesome. So we'll go ahead and go back and forth on these. Do you want to start, Sergio?
Yes, and our first answer this week is by Bunny, and they say, I would have preferred a mountain setting rather than the island, but I'm not too upset. It's nice to have some land that is totally your own to play with, and the island definitely gives us that. I do feel that they push the island theme in New Leaf a lot, even in the music with the steel drums, so I was surprised they went back to it. I hope when we see more of the winter and autumn weather, it would feel less beachy and summery and more like the usual Animal Crossing games. So Bunny definitely agrees with you there when they showed those seasons. It just made it seem, oh, so this is Animal Crossing. This is not just tropical island Animal Crossing type of thing. And I agree with Bunny. I think it's nice to see the island, and it kind of is the repeat a little bit because New Leaf did sort of highlight that a little bit. But I think New Horizons it definitely does it more, but it's just part of the whole Animal Crossing experience.
Yeah, definitely. And, they're totally right. Like, New Leaf does give kind of an island vibe with the beach kind of being a lot bigger than it was before. Because
Yes.
In previous games, like, we only had it be that southern portion of the map. And now the beach kind of went around a bigger part. And
Yes.
we had the island on top of that, which tons of people used every single night for money, essentially.
Yes, right.
So it is very strange to go to the island setting. And I guess I would guess the reason they didn't go to the mountain setting is because Pocket Camp is already doing that. you know, like that's giving the people more of like that camping out in the mountains feel. It even gives you a cabin that you can decorate.
All right.
So I feel like they were already doing the mountain feel with that, and they wanted to differentiate this game from what already existed and what's essentially going to exist alongside this game. Like, I
Yes.
don't foresee Pocket Camp disappearing. I think it's going to keep going for a long time, you know? So if they're going to have two games running at the same time, they gotta keep it different, which is
Yeah.
what they're going to be doing with this island setting. But like Bunny said, like I said, I'm just happy that we have our seasons and we're going to be able to get kind of away from that island feel.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Cool. So the next answer is from Cathario, and they said, I like the island setting, but to me, it doesn't feel too islandy to bother me since we still have full seasons and our regular and pine trees. Oh, I see. They mean the regular trees and pine
Yes.
trees. Gotcha. This biggest changes coming with this island setting to me, from what we've seen so far, are that there's much easier access to the beaches and a lot more beach space since this game's focus is starting from the ground up. A deserted island fits that idea really well. So I guess why they went that direction. I'm curious to see how travel is handled and how much you'll do it, but I don't feel like I've lost anything since the town is on the island. I want to kind of add on top of that too, like, we do have a lot of beach in this game. We're gonna be, spending a lot of time on the beach, but they've
Yes.
also given us the ability to decorate the beach. They clearly highlighted them decorating the beach by putting that stump in the trailer where, the player puts the stump down, they sit on it, and essentially, like, we're doing something very new that we've never been able to do. And while New Leaf had the biggest beach in the series so far, it also kind of had the emptiest one because we couldn't do anything
yes,
with it.
That's
you
right.
know?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And it was also disconnected from the rest of the town because the
Yes.
cliffs were more of a way to separate the beach from it. And while they did add swimming and you could do that on that portion of the map, there just overall wasn't very much that you could do with it. So I think that's the big difference here. Like, though we are on an island, the beach isn't going to be useless, you know?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Not to say that New Leaf, the beach was useless, but, compared to what we're going to be able to do in this next game, it's going to feel a little bit bare, you know?
Yes, yes, for sure. And I agree with Cathario about traveling. It's going to be unique how they approach it, how it's going to be done, how much. Like you said, I hope everything is connected. It would be nice if you're on the river and you can just swim from the river to the beach.
Yeah. And I want to say, too, like, Jackie, when she'd watch me play Animal Crossing and everything, she'd always kind of look at the cliffs on the other side on the far side of your town and be like, that just feels like an artificial barrier for your town, you know? Whereas the beach itself feels like, oh man, how long does this go? Like, how far out are we going to be able to swim on this beach before they put like buoys to stop us, you know? Because that's what we got in New Leaf before. But essentially, like, the world's going to feel like it's not like Breath of the Wild open world because it's not that big, you know? But it's going to be more open in the sense of like the barrier to your world isn't really visible.
Good point. Yes.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. I think it's going to be really cool to see more of the beach and what we're going to be able to do with it, because I know I came into this being worried about having an island. That was probably my last choice of what I wanted, but thus far, I'm hopeful that it's going to be fun, at least.
Right. Yes, for sure. So our next answer is by Will B. And the answer is, at first I was very unsure about the island setting, but now I've come to terms with it and I think it's really cute. I don't think it will be that different to the past games, and I hope that with more gameplay, they will show more of the shops and more of the island. I hope that you can go up past the cliffs at the top also. all in all, I'm very excited. And yes, will be, I think, part of the message that we can extract from the interview that we discussed earlier is that the cliffs are gonna be an area where you can build the shops or the amenities that we're used to in an Animal Crossing village. So I think the island I don't know if it's gonna expand, but I think we're gonna be able to utilize the entirety of the map, including the large beach for sure.
I'm still kind of hoping it'll expand though. Just, if you want to make a big
Right, right.
island, I think it's cool. Especially like, the cliffs at the back, I think are the most artificial feeling barrier but I also feel like that's the place where you can expand.
Yes, yes.
I think like if there's anywhere you can expand, it's probably just building more land to the back of your beach.
Right.
So I'm interested in seeing more of that. I'm really interested to see how we even get up on top of the cliffs, because that
Right,
seems like it
yes.
might be a later game thing, but it also worries me because I don't know. We didn't really get confirmation if pine trees can grow on the lower portion of the map.
Hmm.
Because if they can't, I'm going to be very upset. I'm going to be so upset, especially if I'm really just hoping that we can move our house after the fact because
Oh,
we've seen
yes.
people put their tent like on the beach during the tree house, and I'm like, it's cool. It's cool that you can build on the beach, but I want to build my place and make it feel like a little mountain house because
Yes.
that's my aesthetic.
Right.
Um, so I'm hoping that a big thing that we can do in this game later is moving where we live because it doesn't seem like we have access to the cliffs at the beginning, but we might want to live
Right.
up there eventually. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Oh,
And
yeah,
maybe
good point.
and they maybe alluded to the fact that you probably don't have I guess a place to live right at the beginning, and maybe you have to do some work before you can pick somewhere.
Yes.
So maybe you can do enough work to eventually move to the top of the cliff before and put your first home up there. But I don't know. I guess this is all just me thinking and speculating about what's going to be possible.
Yes.
Yeah. So Honey Ocean said, "Love it, love it, love it. I'm from an island in the Caribbean, so for me, an island setting is already like home. Plus, having our own entire piece of land to ourselves seems even more significant than being mayor of a town. Plus, the idea of sailing or flying to other islands, so exciting. So that's pretty awesome. Like we have somebody from an island who's excited to live on an island in Animal Crossing, which I mean, I can relate to that because I grew up in a mountain town and I just want to live in a mountain town in Animal Crossing. I just said it a little bit ago.
Right.
So I think it's cool. I think it's cool that it fits like what your life is already.
Yes, yes, for sure, and I agree that it's very, very different from you arrive to a village and then from a series of random events you're the mayor. So now you are in this island and you I don't know how much you're gonna be in control, but I mean at least you're in control of your aspect of it and you're starting from scratch. So definitely very appealing right from the get go.
Yeah, there's a lot going toward this aesthetic, and just earlier we didn't really dwell on this point too much, but a deserted island is a good setting to be a place that you build up from scratch.
Yes. Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yes. The next answer is by Kakulu, and they said, unpopular opinion, I'm tired of beachy island themes in everything. I feel like a whole lot of games in general are doing island life, and it's not my favorite style. I much prefer mountain or forest vacations. However, I'm not upset about it. It's still going to be a lot of fun. My island will just be a pine island if at all possible. Yes, that's a good point. I think eventually, who knows, we might all start very island beachy type environment, but I think part of the fun is that you're going to be able to build to whatever you want. You're going to keep it that way. That's your approach. You can do that. Or if you want to change it a lot and make it into a village or just put all of the like action places, the shops, the homes, etc., towards the top near the cliffs to make it maybe like more like a mountain or like a forest setting, you might be able to do that. So the variety is gonna be there, I think.
Yeah, and I guess I also feel like a lot of things are doing like the island life kind of thing. Like Pokemon Sun and Moon, the last generation of Pokemon, was definitely focused around an island. But we also got to remember, like their next place is technically an island as well. Like the UK, where it's based on,
Yes.
it's a big island. um, so I think what's fun about this is that we're gonna see a lot of variety for the islands, which will give us more. It'll get us away from that tropical beach life type of feel, and I think that's good. You know, I think
Mhm.
it gives people kind of a break from that setting because I know I was tired of seeing that setting in Pokemon Sun and Moon. I was just like, man, it's just another island, another tropical place. Because I
Right.
really like to see the variety in a video game, you know?
Right. Yes. Hmm.
So Mel is our final answer, and they said, I'm very excited. I'm from Michigan, where we have this crazy, beautiful how do I say this? Mackinac Island. That's how I'm going to say it. Please correct me later. But it looks like Mackinac Island. For those worried about the tropical feel of an island for their town, please look Mackinac up. It has beautiful forests, hiking trails, and sits on a gorgeous lake. It feels like such a special place because it's isolated and so unique. I'm hoping the same feeling translates to New Horizons, where all of our islands will feel special and our own. And I
Mm.
did actually look up this island, and it looks incredible, I've got to say.
Oh.
Yeah, like check out some pictures of this place because it is beautiful, and I'm just like, okay, I'm so down to make my town look like this. um, Also, fun fact, Mackinac is an 8-letter name, so if you do want to base your town around that,
Oh.
it works.
Yeah.
Because I'm hoping we at least get our usual 8 characters, but come on, Nintendo, just double it.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, I think this is a good way to end this off because I know there are still going to be people who are generally worried about the island setting and it's not really their favorite setting, you know? But overall, I think we're just going to get a game that's going to allow us to do so much that after a while, we're not going to notice it's an island, you know?
Yes, and for sure right now Pocket Camp is very heavy into that theme. And it's summer, so I feel like a lot of like they said, a lot of games are doing that, and it kind of like gets a little bit repetitive, but by next March, we might be in the mood for that kind of thing. Coming out of winter and starting spring, we might be feeling a little bit more tropical. So, we might be more into it at that time. But it's also nice to know that there's gonna be some variety built in there, so we can go the way we want, basically.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a good point. Like our real life, at least for people in the northern hemisphere, they're going to feel like, man, I could use some sun right now.
Yes.
But now, southern hemisphere, like they're going to be starting out this game in the fall, essentially.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be a very unique thing. I'm always very excited to see Animal Crossing throughout the years, especially like I tend to follow people who don't time travel and that sort of thing because I like to get the experience of like my first year of Animal Crossing like live as it's happening. So each time the season changes, that's an exciting point for me because I'm just like this is my first time seeing this world and I'm so
Yes.
excited about how it looks right now, you know? So
Yes.
so yeah, that's going to be very different considering like we're going to meet a lot of people from the southern hemisphere who are going to be playing this game during those seasons that I really can't wait to see, but I'm going to be and I'm not going to be able to resist essentially. Like I'm going to look at their pictures. um but yeah, I mean optimally I would avoid them and just see it as it actually happens in my playthrough,
Right.
but I already know I'm going to be seeing a lot of pictures of it. Yeah. So, did you have anything else to say about anything we discussed today?
No, I think we're good. And just to reiterate that, based on everything we've seen, and of course we're gonna get more information as we get closer to March. Inching closer and closer. There's gonna be variety in this game, and there's gonna be a little bit of everything that we love about it, and it's gonna be more traditional than when we think. I think eventually we're gonna be playing this game a lot for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be playing it a lot for sure. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for listening. If you want to be part of the conversation on all things Animal Crossing, please join our Discord. I have a link in the description of this podcast. It's totally free to join. You don't have to be a patron, and if you do join, you can get Sergio and my friend codes. If you do want to become a patron, visit patreon.com/ChewyPlaysNintendo. For just $1, you can support our show, get tons of cool things, and you can see our current goals to improve the show and our content. One of those we already met, which next month you're already going to see a new Haken piece of art. I've already spoken with the artist who is working on it, and I've sent her money, so it's going to be very fun to see what we're seeing each month, you know? But yeah, overall, we're really trying to make it worth it because we appreciate your support, and we just want to show our thanks all the time. If you are watching or listening on YouTube, please leave a comment about how you feel about the island setting in New Horizons. And please leave a review of the show wherever you're listening. It helps the show gain some visibility and allows our community to grow. And once again, thank you for listening, and we hope you have a great week.
Goodbye, everybody.